Posted by you/Thrower_Flash. My husband, 52M, and I, 36F, have been together for 10 years, married for 6. In the last 2 or 3 years, he started to show less and less interest in me. He subscribes to a couple of OF accounts, which I'm not bothered about since it's no different from corn, so I know he still has intimate urges. I've tried talking to him a couple of times about this and told him I'm getting bored and frustrated. He knows I'm willing to try anything intimate, so if there's anything he wants to do to get motivated, I'll try it. He just says duly noted and carries on with his day, which is frustrating. A few nights ago, we had friends over for tea, and we got onto the subject of commutes and roadworks, with them mentioning how their commute has more than doubled due to roadworks on a road they use. Carol, the wife of the couple, then says, "We found a way to make it more entertaining, haven't we?" to her husband, and they both started laughing. She then tells us that the roadworks stretch about 3 miles, with groups of workers spread out into maybe 7 or 8 groups, and they usually drive at 10 to 15 miles per hour. So, when they get near one of the groups, he beeps, and she flashes them, and the workers all cheer. I couldn't believe it, as they seem so straight-laced. That night, after they left, my husband was saying how brave it was of them and that we should do it the next morning. I asked if he was sure. This is a man who didn't like it when I posted a bikini picture on Facebook, and he said yes. We even had bedroom intimacy that night for the first time in months, and he initiated for the first time in years. The next morning, we were both off work, and as soon as he woke up, he mentioned me flashing. I asked if he was sure and if it wasn't just bedroom talk, and what if the men didn't want to be flashed. He said he was sure and that all men want to be flashed. We drive to the road, and we see a group of workmen. My husband gets all giddy and says, "Are you ready?" I say yes, and he says, "Now." He beeps the horn, and I lift my top up, and they all cheer. We're going about 10 miles per hour when suddenly, he slams on the brakes and tells me to get out. I was in shock. His face is red with anger, and he's shouting, "Get out, you effing slag." I start crying, and he leans over me, opening my car door, then takes off my seatbelt and starts pushing me out. The cars behind are beeping because he stopped traffic, and he's yelling at the top of his voice. By now, the workers had heard the commotion, and 2 of them rushed over to help. I turned to look at them, and as I did, he pushed me really hard, causing the top half of my body to fall out of the car. I put my hands down to brace myself. One of the workers started screaming at my husband and tried to open his door, while the other worker came over to me and quickly dragged me out of the car. He told me afterward that he saw my husband put the car in gear and thought he was going to drive off with me hanging out of the car. My husband just left me there. I was still only wearing a vest top, pajama shorts, and slippers since he had wanted to rush out and do this. My phone was in his car, and I didn't have any house keys. One of the workers took off his jacket and wrapped it around me. They took me to a cabin that was their canteen, put the heater on, and made me a cup of tea. I was so embarrassed. This lot had seen me flash them, then seen me getting abused, and then watched me fall out of a car and rescued me, all in the space of 30 seconds. I kept apologizing to them, saying it was his idea, but they told me it was okay and that it happens a few times a day. I think they were just trying to make me feel better. They were laughing and joking with me, and they were all so sweet and funny. They asked if I wanted to call anyone, but I don't know anyone's number apart from work, and I didn't want them picking me up wearing next to nothing from a building site. I asked if I could just call a taxi, but they said I couldn't get in a taxi dressed like that. The man I assumed was their team leader told one of them to drive me wherever I wanted to go, so I asked if they could take me to my mom's, about 5 miles away. They gave me some spare work boots to walk across the mud to the van, and 2 of them drove me to my mom's. They were really sweet, making sure I was okay, and even walked me to the front door. When my mom answered, I was hysterical and crying, and they told her that my husband and I had an argument, and he left me by the side of the road. My mom offered them a drink, and I tried to give them their coat and boots back, but they said it was okay. I told my mom we were driving to McDonald's and got into an argument. I didn't tell her about the pushing or anything. She drove me home and let me in with a spare key she has. I packed some things and went back to my mom's. My husband had been home, as my phone was on the table. In the 5 days since, he's been ringing me nonstop, saying he's sorry and doesn't know what came over him. He said he heard someone shout "nice pair," and it made him angry. My friends are telling me to leave, while his are obviously telling me to give him another chance. I'm 50-50, but if I do stay, I'm going to insist on couples counseling for both of us and bedroom therapy, either for him or both of us. He says he doesn't want to involve other people in the relationship. It feels silly to throw it all away over a few seconds of madness, and I should have just said no when he asked me to flash, as I know he's quite insecure. I was blinded by finally getting some bedroom intimacy and attention from him and thought I could get more. I took the workers their jacket and boots back and also made them 2 cakes and bought them 1,000 bags of Yorkshire tea as a thank you. Commenter. I don't think any relationship advice will help your situation, nor will couples counseling. This is definitely the sort of situation where couples counseling will only escalate problematic or abusive behavior. What you need, quite frankly, is a divorce lawyer. Ops response. That's the thought that's becoming more prevalent in my mind. I took pictures of the bruises and scuffs on my arms and legs afterward, and I keep looking at them, thinking, what would I say to anyone else who showed me these? Update 3 weeks later. I took people's advice on this sub and a couple of others and called the police to report the attack. I spoke to the workers beforehand, and they said they'd back me up. They arrested my husband and then released him on bail, but told him he couldn't stay at my house, so he's gone to his mum's. After the argument, he told all our friends that I had cheated. I hadn't wanted to admit to people that I had flashed, but I felt like the tide was really turning against me, and a lot of people were believing his lies. So, I wrote a long message with a description of exactly what happened, along with pictures of my injuries, including scrapes and bruises, plus screenshots of messages he sent admitting he asked me to flash and admitting he hit me, although he did blame me, saying if I had just gotten out like he asked, he wouldn't have had to do that. A few people apologized, most didn't, but I don't care anymore. I'm back home, and he has to answer bail in a couple of months. The police don't sound confident they can get a conviction, but maybe that's how they're supposed to sound. I've spoken a little bit to a lawyer, but I can't really afford anything in that way at the moment. It's been a sad few weeks, but an eye-opener, and I don't feel any guilt for getting the police involved or telling people what happened. Just working and keeping myself busy at the moment. Op on the workers who rescued her. Luckily, the road worker was a big, strong guy. He picked me up and got me out of the way like I was as light as a feather. That's the part that plays on my mind the most. He drove off a split second after I was out of the car, and the door was still open. I think, in his mind, I was still half in the car when he drove off. Can Op go to a safe place and away from her husband? I don't think I need protection. My brother is staying with me now, and he could beat up 10 of my husband with one hand. Op telling the police what happened and how they have responded. I did tell the police exactly what happened, as did the workmen. Believe it or not, the police didn't care about me showing flesh and were more concerned about me getting beaten up and nearly run over. Guru commenter. Reading Op's post history, she also mentions that she bought a home, which he moved into and refused to contribute towards the mortgage because he didn't own the house. Then, after the incident unfolded, he refused to leave. The man's a sponge and likely realized his free housing situation was about to end as well.